Welcome to the Stick Niner Empire podcast. I'm Lucas McLaughlin here with Lucas Ortiz, and Mike Arango is missing in action. No, I just talked to him. We'll be doing another segment with him. He has had to work. So, Lucas, things are looking good. Playoffs, and Purdy he just exceeds expectations. The first half was pretty tough, man. That was a tough first half. I actually thought Seattle brought their A game, and then you just saw us run away with it, just like you said it would happen as far as the third quarter. By the time we got to the fourth quarter, Purdy, how could you even think about starting another quarterback? What do you think about what's going on with the offense?
Yeah, I'm sold, man. 11 in a row. This team is hot. Nobody wants to play us. We're going to the divisional round. Probably as other than the Chiefs and the Bills, the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. So I'm feeling good, man. The Purdy keeps going, and it ain't going to stop. I think we're going to handle Dallas. We'll get into that a little more specifically later, but yeah, Seattle hung in there. They made it scary. I was a lot uneasy in that first half.
Yeah,
just thinking, we got to finish drives. We can't just, we were moving the ball, a little shaky in that first quarter, but I think his nerves settled down and the rain subsided a little bit, so it wasn't as slick of the ball. I think that may have played a little bit into some of those errant throws. But we were moving the ball, but we weren't finishing those drives. We were getting Robbie Gould chip shots instead of touchdowns.
Welcome back to the Stick Niner Empire podcast. We've got Mike Arango making an appearance here, working overtime these days. Huh, Mike? How you doing?
Just here at my other gig, brother. How are you doing over there in California?
Pretty good. We had a pretty good show last night. We missed you.
Man. The Brock Purdy continues to grow, my friend.
Yeah, field goal kicker for Dallas. Maybe he'll miss a few more extra points this week if they get any touchdowns.
I tell you what. Doing it, like 5 weeks in a row now? This dude looks dreadful right now. And
yeah, I'm surprised they didn't cut him, man. 4 in a row he missed during that game.
This is not the way you want to face the Niners coming up, man. Brock Purdy is really starting to step up his game. He did look a little jittery in the beginning of the game. He had, I think it was like 3 passes sail away from him. Yeah. He did say it might have been the rain, but I think he was a little nervous. But man, the way he started tightening up after that, and even before he tightened up, man, one thing you just have to love about this kid is the way that he makes just great decisions.
Yeah.
I don't. For some strange reason, they were getting a lot of pressure on him, and when they did, that's not really the strange part. The strange part is it was like 2-3 plays in a row where he just ran up to the screen, did a little turnaround, threw the ball out of bounds.
Yeah,
it was a little exhausting and a little frustrating to look at. But I'll be honest with you, at least he was making the right decisions. And you got to be thankful for that. But second half, as we both know, that kid took off, man. He was going through his progressions. And let me tell you something.
3
TDs passing, I believe 1 rushing.
And we talked about how Ayuk should have had that last one, right? It should have been 4 TDs. Hit him in the hand.
Really, it should have been. And he should have had 6 total. Because that other one to Jennings that sailed, he's wide open, dude.
Yeah, that was another one, yeah.
Can you imagine that? Imagine that kid walking away with 5 TDs passing, 1 rushing for his first playoff game ever. Man, there's something special about him. I don't know what it is, but he's got the it factor for sure.
Yeah, he turns into Patrick Mahomes times 2, so that's a good thing for us.
And he doesn't have, Jimmy has like this beautiful throwing motion, but it's always the same motion. With Purdy, he can be like sliding left, sliding right. He could be falling down and like throw around defenders. He can throw from different angles. And these little type of things are making him a better quarterback and harder to defend, in my opinion.
Let's talk about the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is actually going to be the number 2 soon. He's getting cleared by the doctors. He's going to be out there backing up Purdy. I mean, it's kind of exactly what Damon Bruce talked about, right?
It's a great backup to have.
Gotta have him, right? I mean, if something happens, unfortunately, to Purdy, which hopefully will be fine.
Comfort thing for us. What backup better is there to have? You know that the team will play for Jimmy. Yeah. They like Jimmy. Jimmy understands the offense, and he was probably playing at the best level in his career before, unfortunately, he got injured again.
There was a little resilience on this team. We know that we can win going down into the half. We know we can win going down being down in the fourth quarter, which we've done already. This team is battle tested, and I think there's not any scenario right now where we can't overcome.
Yeah, well, the defense ended up looking really good in this game. And back to the offense, Brock Purdy is just can't stop talking about him because we finished this game 41-23. He has 3 touchdown passes, and man, that was almost a 4th touchdown pass.
And he ran one in.
That Ayuk just
almost 5 touchdowns.
Hit his hands. You got to catch that ball, right?
But the lead up to that throw, I mean, that was insane too.
Unbelievable.
Like, there was just a lot of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in that play. I think he was actually pushed out of the pocket to his left, spinned around, went all the way to the opposite sideline, stopped on a dime, backpedaled, and then just threw a dime perfectly to Ayuk, hit him right in the hands, and he just dropped it.
He must have been running around for 6 or 7 seconds before he got that thing perfectly to the corner of the end zone.
No, that was about a 15, 20-second play. I mean, that was
unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, you're just like pulling your hair out, thinking like, how do we get this kid down? How do we stop him? I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, the same way about like Mahomes and Josh Allen when they just like make plays out of nothing, extend, and just throw these unbelievable touchdown passes on broken plays. So we got that now. We have our quarterback of the future. I just don't see Trey Lance going into camp next year unless something unfortunately happens to Brock as
that's the thing of it, right? I mean,
quarterback.
Injuries, look what's happened to our team with the injuries, and we just got so lucky that this Mr. Irrelevant ends up being a gem and a diamond in the rough, and he's getting better and better every time we go out there. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo is actually ready to go, and he will be coming back as the number 2, is what I heard today. So he'll be on the sidelines as the number 2 quarterback. But, just like Damon Bruce mentioned in our show last week, that's the best case scenario right now because the injuries and the way things happen, transpire in the NFL. Hey, we've got Jimmy Garoppolo.
If anything does happen, we do have depth at that position. I think we have depth at a lot of positions. Of course, you don't want any of your stars to go down.
Yeah.
And at this point, I think you got to say Brock Purdy is a star with Garoppolo. Like, he's shined at moments, but I wouldn't say he was the reason we were winning or that he's necessarily won the games. It was more defense, special teams, run attack. Those are the things that we were banking on.
We got some big news this week, which I don't know is kind of under the radar, but Rand Carthon, the director of player operations, has been hired by the Tennessee Titans as their GM. So how does that affect our team, Lucas? I mean, is that something that's kind of bad timing because we're in the playoffs, or do you think it's actually good because now we get those? I think we get a couple of 3rd-round picks for that move.
So I don't think it really has anything to do with this season. Guys like that, player personnel guys, they're the ones. I mean, he's one of the guys responsible for looking at guys like Brock Purdy and Spencer Burford. Like, we don't pick up those guys unless you got player personnel guys looking at Division I AA all the way through these little small colleges throughout the country, looking like, all right, who can we develop? Who's kind of an underrated player that we can get in the later rounds, or undrafted free agents that are priority guys. And like, I think there's guys that can replace him. You have like Bobby Slowick, who's actually the guy that found Brock Purdy. He's probably the one most responsible for saying, hey, like, I really like this guy, and said, hey, Kyle, John, let's look at this kid. Let's draft him. So you do want to have guys with an eye for talent. Yeah. It's gonna be not great losing them, but at the same time, we're getting some compensation back.
And plus, we've spent so much on McCaffrey, which really has paid off. But it's nice to get a couple of those picks back, right? I mean,
we're going to be getting
3rd-round picks.
Yeah, we're going to be a 3rd-round pick in this next year's draft and a 3rd-round pick in the following year. So it does make up for some of that capital that we've been giving away to get guys like Trey Lance and Christian McCaffrey. So I think it's a fair trade-off. And I love this rule. I feel like we're really good at giving opportunity. The 49ers are to people of color, super diverse coaching staff. D'Amico Ryans, Robert Saleh the year before, Mike McCarthy was actually a minority hire as well, and we've gotten compensation for that. So it's given us some draft capital back that we've been trading away for some good players.
Very true. Diversity is always a good thing, and it's nice to see that these coaches that we cultivate are going out and becoming head coaches, even though we'd rather see them stay with the 49ers, especially with D'Amico. I think it's time to go around the horn. So the defense ended up having a really good second half, and it's really easy to pick Bosa, but I'll let you go first. I've got a couple different guys in mind here. So and then Arango is just going to have to pick up the scraps.
So a couple guys stood out to me. I really loved Charles Omenihu in this game. He had by far the biggest play of the game. I think we were only up by 6 at that point.
Yeah.
Seahawks were driving. They were in the red zone. And, if anything, they were at least going to score 3 points. He had a sack strip play, which Nick Bosa recovered. But, I mean, you gotta make the case that he was the guy that was responsible for turning that game around and really, putting the pressure on the Seahawks. I would think we went ahead and scored on that drive off that turnover and pretty much put the game to rest. So Charles Omenihu had a couple tackles and was just constantly being the Robin to Nick Bosa's Batman throughout the game. So I'm gonna give it to Charles Omenihu, my defensive player of the game.
Nice.
What about you?
It's easy to pick Nick Bosa. He's future Hall of Famer the way he's been playing, especially this year.
He actually had a quiet game. I mean,
but he's always doing something that's benefiting this team.
Right.
Now I'm going to choose Lenoir. People were trying to figure out who we could plug into his spot. He ended up getting a interception, and then they picked on Ward. They didn't pick on Lenoir, so he actually had a really good game, and it was nice to see. And when he has a good game, that means that the secondaries were looking good out there because he's definitely been the weak link. But in this game, he showed that he's able to bounce back, and I think that that's a great quality to have, which most of our defensive players do have, that ability to kind of, if they have a bad game, to bounce back and have a really good game. It's good to get his confidence boosted up before Cowboys come to town.
Yeah, he had a really nice game. For the most part, Charvarius Ward was following DK, and that's probably why they had some big plays. I mean, he's a talented player. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. He's going to get his. On the other side, Lenoir was typically playing mostly zone, and I think he did a really good job of playing reads, getting into his zone properly, and then just making the play. Especially on that one interception, it looked like he saw the play the whole way, cut the route, and just made a beautiful play on the ball. Hands catch, really just cemented the win. Really, at that point, we were up a couple touchdowns, and I was thinking, all right, let's just get one turnover. One turnover in this game is ours, and that's exactly how it played. So, Lenoir, good pick.
We're talking with Mike Arango here, making a visit to this week's podcast here for the Stick Niner Empire. Now, Mike, we did do Around the Horn, so I need you to pick a player, and we took Lucas took Omenihu, and I took.
He took my guy.
Yeah, and I know he took mine too, but then I took Lenoir because he got picked on, but then he came back and had that interception, and they didn't pick on him; they picked on Ward.
I'm gonna go with Armstead then because he's holding the edge. He's the guy who really is vital to us holding the edge. He makes Nick Bosa a better player, and he had a few really good plays in this game as well. He had a lot to do with that pressure that was on that force, on that force strip sack. He was there as well. So I'm gonna go
Great pick.
I'm gonna go with Armstead, man. He does a lot for us. Kind of like undercover in a way. He doesn't get as much respect because he doesn't get the sack numbers, but he's not that type of player.
But you realize, like, when he came back, he was gone for a while. And you realize when he came back how much better Bosa and the whole line was.
Yeah. And he still is
awesome against the run, too.
Don't forget, he still hasn't been 100%. That foot's still been bothering him.
Yeah.
So I'm hopefully by now it's getting better,
Yeah. Cool. And let's get down in the trenches with Lucas Ortiz.
Down in the trenches with Lucas Ortiz. Down in the trenches.
We had a nice game on the ground. The offensive line were opening gaping holes as we saw with the Christian McCaffrey run, where I think he ran for how much? What was it, like about a 60-yard run before he was touched? Yeah, something like that. Debo had some good runs. Elijah Mitchell, he came in and he did his thing. He was running strong up the middle. Had a nice TD catch on a broken play from Purdy in the red zone. And the offensive line, other than a couple of coverage sacks, which you can't really put on them, they protected well.
Yeah.
Purdy didn't really have to rush the ball at any point. He did get sacked a couple times, but like I said, those are coverage sacks. Those are plays where nobody was open and he tried to extend it, and eventually the rush got to him. But I really loved the way these guys run block. They never give up on plays. You see them downfield making second and third blocks sometimes. What was it? The Deebo Samuel play where he ran for a 70-yard plus touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see offensive linemen, chasing down the play and still trying to get into the action. And, that's what it's going to take to win a Super Bowl. You got to have guys like that on the line of scrimmage that are just dogs and willing to put guys on their back, no matter how long the play is, no matter, where they are on the field. They need to instill that sense of physicality. So, A+ game for the offensive line.
Nice.
Let's see if they can do it again against a much better defense in Dallas next week. They got some really good pass rushers and defensive linemen. So I want to see it again. I want to see them, repeat and maybe even be a little better. We just had some guys injured in Aaron Banks, and he probably wasn't 100%, but I think he's going to be a little stronger next weekend. We're going to see even more yardage on the ground. Let's get 300 yards on the ground.
Nice.
That would be sweet.
Speaking of guys going downfield, there's so many ineligible linemen going downfield for Seattle. Was getting sloppy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And speaking of sloppy, we've got
those are big plays. Those cost them
huge.
Some yardage and some first downs. That, for instance, when we had the strip sack, the play before was one of those. It was a positive play. It would have been probably a 3rd and 2, but instead it was a 3rd and 13, and that's probably a big reason why the rush was able to get that strip sack.
Yeah.
Instead of the 3rd and 2, having to do a 3rd and 13 pass is a much different play. So, those guys are they probably get away with it a lot through the season. It kind of feels like Kyle Shanahan was in the ear of the referees saying, "Hey, once you look at those offensive linemen, I think they're getting a head start and getting downfield a little bit more than 2 yards."
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what they allow them to do.
Now Dallas comes to town, and it's interesting. They're lucky that wasn't a close game.
Wait, before we get to
the guy missed 4 extra points.
Let me cut you off. Were you rooting for Dallas to win, or are you rooting for Tampa to come to Santa Clara?
I actually wanted Brady to win because we destroyed him. So I thought it would be nice to have him come back and try again. And if it was close, they would have been firing that guy, I think, before the Niner game. So, and Prescott, you don't even know what you're going to get. Either he's going to be phenomenal
Jekyll
or
and Hyde.
Awful.
Yeah. Sounds like a quarterback we used to. It's very similar to Garoppolo, right? One week he's a Hall of Famer, and the next week, he's looks like he should be out of the NFL. So I personally was rooting for the Buccaneers, but at the same time, I think it'd just be a little more gratifying being the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And just, it's a better matchup, I think, for us. It's someone that we haven't played this year, but we played last year. And I like our odds. I like our chances. Like you said, you never know what you're going to get with Dak. And they have less weapons than the Buccaneers. I think CeeDee Lamb and Pollard are pretty much the only 2 guys I worry about.
Yeah, Lamb's good. He's really good.
Even Ezekiel Elliott is a kind of a shadow of himself. He gets outplayed by Pollard, and he gets more snaps. He gets more opportunities. So I think he's kind of the second running back now on the team. He's still an effective runner, but he's not the dangerous threat that Pollard is out of the backfield.
And they've had some issues with their offensive line. So this should be interesting to see if we can really get to Prescott and get his jersey dirty and get some sacks and keep that pressure going. And I like the way DeMeco Ryans called blitzes this year because they're unpredictable sometimes. Let's have a regular rush and we'll get to the quarterback. And then when he does send guys, they get there and they get home and they...
Right. You never know who he's going to send. Fred Warner's a great blitzer. And even though they don't always get to the quarterback, I think a lot of times they make the quarterback get rid of the ball. Typically when interceptions happen, when quarterbacks have to get rid of the ball a little earlier than they're used to or want to.
I've seen so many Dallas 49er playoff games at Candlestick Park, dating all the way back to 1981. Watched Dwight Clark with a catch, and then later on, we had struggles in the early 90s with where they came in and beat us, Troy Aikman and Emmett Smith. So, and then finally in 94, Steve Young finally had his day in the sun with Dion on the team and everything. So, used to seeing them in a championships fashion. So who do you think we will end up seeing if we beat Dallas? Do you think the Giants and the Niners will face off in the championship game?
Part of me wants the Giants in the NFC Championship game just because I know we'll get it at home, and I think we have the advantage there. The Giants are a dangerous team. Their offense looks like it's really coming on. And personally, I want to see the Giants, but I have a feeling it's going to be the Eagles, and we're going to have to go to Philly. We're going to have to beat them in cold, bad weather with angry, bitter, nasty fans.
The worst.
And then it's on to the Super Bowl. I don't know. How do you see it?
We really caught fire late here, and I think I like our advantage because they have trouble preparing for Purdy. There's not a ton of tape on him. He's Mr. Irrelevant, but now the things they are watching, they're going, oh, geez, this guy can play. Like you said, he throws it over the top. Now they got to make sure that the safety's deep and that they're covering because he can throw the ball, man. He's got a great arm and he's got some accuracy going on. He's doing his impression of Joe Montana out there to Jerry Rice. And so I love that it's not Garoppolo because they know how to prepare for him, right? I mean,
right.
As much as I like
swag.
they know exactly how to play it, right?
You see every time he throws a touchdown pass, he's got ice water in his veins. He's throwing guns. He's stomping his chest. Who really likes him and tweeted him after the game? LeBron James. He said, "Man, this Purdy's got game."
Nice.
And somebody mentioned that to him in the post game press conference, and he thought that was pretty cool. You could just see him light up like
that's awesome.
That's pretty badass. That's when you made it, when you got King James.
Yeah, totally. If anything, I would say that Purdy needs to take what the defense gives him sometimes because everything is like he's trying to get a home run on everything, which is awesome because he's good at it. But sometimes you got to dump it underneath like Garoppolo would, so you can let our receivers do what they do and get the yak. So hopefully he'll get a little more comfortable this game against Dallas and be able to, throw those little ones underneath when he needs to dump it off instead of trying to get the home run every time. It was a great game. He's been doing awesome, and I can't wait to see this matchup. It's going to be really good. So what's your predictions for the score, Cowboys?
I'm already looking ahead. Yeah. Let's get it done. I think prediction. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a beatdown like we gave the Seahawks. I think we're going to have to score some points because I think the Cowboys have a pretty good offense, and we'll probably see good Dak and some big plays from CeeDee Lamb and Pollard. I think it's going to be a 38-33 game. We're going to win. Wow. A tight one-score game, and it's going to be a sweat all the way down to the finish. Let's say I think we're going to take the lead going to the fourth quarter, and it's just going to be, defense, just hold on, and we'll stop them in the end. Kind of similar to what happened last year, where I think we stopped them on their final drive. They were driving and they ran out of time. That may or may not happen again. I'm hoping
that's got to burn in Prescott's mind, right? He had to try and get that playoff, and he couldn't.
Yeah. Time has run out. This game is over. What do you see?
Turn out the lights. The party's over. Remember that? You might be a little too young for that, but so I think that it's going to be a close game, especially in the first half. Both teams want it, and both teams are there for a reason. You're going to see a lot of good football, especially in the first half. And then I think that the way that we play things, that D'Amico and Coach Shanahan make certain adjustments at halftime that they've been doing all season long that will catch Dallas off guard. And in the third quarter, we go up by 2 touchdowns. And after that, we don't look back. And the final score will be 28-21 Niners.
All right. It's a little less scoring in your prediction. Like it.
Yeah, more
we'll see. I just think defense hasn't been playing as well as they were earlier in the season. And like I said, I just think Dallas is going to have some big plays. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a good game. we're just got to score more points, and we have
We're
the
gonna have to
offense
sack
do it.
him.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I called that turnover. I text you guys, we need a turnover, and on the next play, we got a turnover. And I was so proud of that. Cool. Well, I think that's about it for now. I know you got to get to work. So great talking with you. I'm glad we could get you in on the episode. And
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Big
go
thanks again
Niners.
for being on the show last week.
Hope everybody liked the Damon Bruce show last
Yeah, it
week.
was
I think that was
awesome.
one of our best interviews we've ever had. We haven't had many, but when we do have them, they're amazing.
And this week, I'm going to post some trivia questions on the YouTube site. And then we're going to be reading those off next week. And the winner will get the signed Steve Young football. So big prizes coming up.
Am I eligible to win?
Nope.
Just checking.
Let's let the fans win.
Just checking. All right.
All right,
buddy.
man. Great to see you, Lucas.
Niners.
Go Niners.
Everything.
Take care. Let's do this.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.